Alrighty, so anyone who's watching the pre-recording of this, thanks for watching. As always, let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. Be sure to check out all my other videos. And yes, I'll be doing live streams in the future. This is just one that I was doing today. So let's see if anyone pops up. It's always, I'm like, a fear of mine is that I'm just gonna do a live stream and then it's just gonna be me talking to myself for 20 minutes. So trying to avoid that. We'll see if anyone joins the live stream, but yeah, just an opportunity. I always like to do these, you know, every couple weeks, couple months. I know lots of people have questions about chameleons, and I know I have tons of videos, so this is just a good way for me to interact with you guys and answer any questions that are top of mind related to any chameleons. So, first question, should I get an ocelots? Ocelots? I never know how to pronounce those. If you want one, I say go for it, but they're not super commonly kept, so there's not a lot of care information about them, and they're typically wild caught. So, not my first recommendation for someone looking to get a chameleon. I'd probably do a veiled or a panther, just because they're typically captive bred and there's tons of information about them. But as long as you do your research and you get them from like a reliable breeder or source, then I say go for it. But yeah, we've got a few other people. How's your, Saturday going? Do you guys have any chameleon questions? I have some roaches sitting next to me. I can talk about dubia roaches for a bit. That might be fun. Roaches freak people out. That's always good. Where are they wild caught? Does Madagascar allow any exports of chameleons? So exportation is not my area of expertise because I've never gotten any imports from Madagascar. I believe exports, imports, however you want to think about it, are open right now. So I think people are able to import chameleons. But I'm not sure where those specific ones are from. They may be from Africa. I don't know. You're questioning me on a species of chameleon that isn't commonly kept. So I don't know too much information off the top of my head. So apologize for that. But if you have any other just like general chameleon questions, I can happily answer those. But let's see. When my chameleon is going to his basking spot, he gets all puffed up and dark. I don't know why. So a chameleon getting puffed up, which I believe I did a video about this, and getting darker could be either a stress, like defensive response, but if they're under their basking bulb, it could also be them trying to absorb heat more. So if you're making yourself bigger and darker, then that's more surface area you could potentially be absorbing heat through. If you're a darker color, then that could also be a reason why. So that would probably be the most likely scenario. I know Neptune definitely did that when he was younger, but like I said, it also could be like stress related, but my guess is based on the basking bulb, it's more of a heat thing. Let's see. Do you like substrate for your dubias? I don't use substrate for my dubia roaches. Okay, they're sitting right next to me, so just give me a second. Let's just reach across here. People always ask me how I keep my roaches. This is the most common way I keep them. Sometimes if I order more, then they're like in a big plastic tub with carton. You know what I'm talking about, little egg containers. So that's what I use for substrate. It's not really substrate, just things for them to climb on. And then I just keep them in a ventilated plastic container. I just pick out the dead ones and clean up the poop as needed. I just put, fresh fruits and vegetables in there that they can munch on. And then when I'm ready to feed them to my chameleons, I just pick out the ones that I want, gut load supplement, good to go. Yeah, I asked on Instagram yesterday, the day before, like what questions people have about dubia roaches, so then I can do like a Q&A on dubia roaches, because I know I get a lot of questions about them, and I figured it'd just be easier to do just like one big Q&A video. But if you guys have any specific questions, drop them down and I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise the roaches will just keep me company over here. Is a wandering Jew safe for chameleons? Yes, very popular plant choice. Would you recommend a bioactive terrarium? depends on the situation, and I think also your experience level as a reptile keeper. If you live somewhere drier, then a bioactive enclosure could be a great option because it could help increase the overall humidity inside the enclosure. If you live somewhere that's already super humid, then a bioactive enclosure may make it slightly too humid, but again, that's going to depend on the species of chameleon that you're keeping. I think bioactive enclosures are beautiful and very naturalistic, but there are things to consider like drainage, isopods, springtails, correct substrate, which can be a little complicated and daunting if this is your first time having a reptile or getting into chameleons. But as long as you do your research, I think they could be a great option. I do have a video on like what substrate I recommend for a chameleon enclosure, and in there I do mention bioactive enclosures. And on chameleonforums.com there is a whole blog done by one of the 4 members step by step on how to set up a bioactive enclosure, so I linked that in the description box of that video, but you could always search for it on the Chameleon forums, and I would read through that, and if that all seems doable for you and it makes sense for your environment and your species requirements as far as humidity goes, then I think that could be a really great option. I don't do bioactive because the humidity in the room that my chameleons live in is already within the ranges that they need. So if I were to do bioactive on top of already a pretty humid room, then that would make it too humid for my guys. So that's the reason why I don't do it, but if I live somewhere drier, then I would definitely consider it. All right, what else we got? How long generally should it take for a chameleon to fully shed their entire body? So that depends on how old the chameleon is. If you have a hatchling, teeny tiny little baby, maybe an hour, if that, for them to shed. As they get older, say like 3 to 5 months old, then maybe it takes them like a couple hours. And then let's say like 6 to 9 months, maybe a day or so to shed. And then once your chameleon's over a year old, they're gonna shed less often. Neptune sheds probably like twice a year. Apollo and Luna shed maybe once a year, if that. And when they do shed, they shed in patches or pieces. So like Neptune, his most recent shed, he shed like the top of his back, and that was it. And then like a couple weeks go by, and then he shed like his left leg and right leg, and that was it. And then the next couple weeks he shed like his head. So they will shed more in like patches or chunks or body parts instead of all at once. So an older chameleon could realistically take a couple weeks to finish shedding, and Neptune looked like a total potato. He was like that pale dusty white kind of color for 5 months before he finally started shedding, and it drove me nuts because I was like, can you just look cute and colorful already instead of all like dingy and whitish and whatever. But he just shed probably 3 weeks ago now, so he's looking good. Bright colors. It's awesome. Maria says hi, or Mariah, sorry. Hi. Ziggy the chameleon. Let's see. Is it okay to let our chameleon roam out of his cage and let him crawl around on my curtains? So I just filmed a 5 mistakes chameleon keepers make video, which hopefully will be ready by next Saturday. But in there I talk about free ranging. And so here are my 2 cents on it. I'll try not to go into too much detail, but I think free ranging for, you know, your chameleon to explore, I think is good and beneficial. But the issue that I see with it is that people will do it for hours and hours a day, multiple days a week. And so if you want to take your chameleon out and let it climb the curtains, that's fine. But keep in mind, if your chameleon is out of its enclosure, then it's not inside the enclosure. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money making exactly how we want it to be with UVB, heat, and humidity. When your chameleon is outside of its enclosure, it's no longer getting the UVB exposure, heat, and humidity that it needs to thrive. So if you're constantly letting your chameleon out of its enclosure, then what's the point of having this perfect, you know, little environment for them in the first place? So my recommendation is like no more than twice a week for like 2 hours at a time. And I don't even take my chameleons out that often. That's just, if you really want to do it, like that's probably the most I would feel comfortable doing. If you want to take your chameleon outside, that is an amazing idea because then they have natural UVB. So as long as it's not too hot, not too cold, and you're watching them and monitoring that like they don't get eaten by a bird or run away, because that happens a lot, then you could totally take them outside and that would be great. So, and just be mindful that chameleons can move faster than we give them credit for, and they will poop outside their enclosure, so just be careful of that with your curtains. Does that help? I don't know. That's just my 2 cents, you know. I just see a lot of people free-ranging their chameleons for like hours and hours a day, and I'm like, how are they supposed to get their UVB if they're chilling on your curtain all day? But a little bit here and there, I don't see any harm. Let's see. Hello, I've got my male veiled about 5 months ago, and very recently I've seen bumps that seem to be underneath his skin. Any idea what this may be? Love your channel, by the way. Thank you so much for the love. Bumps under the skin. It's really hard for me to say without seeing a picture. If you want, you can DM me on Instagram at Neptune the Chameleon, a picture, and that would be most helpful, because right now I'm just kind of guessing what it could be. What I've seen previously are broken ribs or broken bones will show up as little bumps under the skin. Eggs in females could be, I know you said male, but like sometimes people are told their chameleon's a male and actually it's a female. So people have DM'd me about bumps, and then I'm like, surprise, it's a girl. And I didn't know. And I'm like, by the way, she has eggs, you know, which is a whole other pickle. That could be it. I've also recently been seeing more and more chameleons getting these like little white bumps on like the top of their skin, and I don't know what's causing this, and I always tell them like go check out a vet, and then they never come back to me and tell me what the cause is, so I never can like give that information to the next person who asks me about it. But yeah, those are probably the most common reasons why I would see bumps under the skin. But yeah, really I would need a picture though, so that would be most helpful. Let's see, I just bought a Mist King for my 2 chameleons. One's doing great with it and drinks fine. The female's so scared of it and hides. When I put a drip cup for her, she seems dehydrated. Okay, so chameleons are shy drinkers, which means it's unlikely that they're gonna drink in front of you. It's very similar to a chameleon eating in front of you. So if we think about it, chameleons' eyes are constantly moving around, right? Checking their environment, looking for predators and threats. Realistically, it's what they're doing. In order for a chameleon to drink or to eat, it has to take both eyes and look at the leaf or the water or the bug, whatever it is. So it's unlikely that a chameleon is going to feel comfortable with you right off the bat. It sounds like you have one that is and one that isn't that scared. So the best thing that you can do is not be in the room. This is the beautiful thing about automatic misters, is that you can not be in the room and your chameleon would be totally fine. So leave the room entirely, and a lot of people will try and watch their chameleon. Here's the thing. If you can see your chameleon, they can see you. Their eyes are probably way better than our eyes, which means like they can see much further than we can. So if you're creeping like around the corner trying to watch your chameleon, they can still see you, which is still intimidating for them. So just provide like some sort of dripper, a mister, fogger at night, and then the way you check if your chameleon's actually staying hydrated is from their poop. The urates, which is going to be that cream colored part of it, as long as it's mostly cream, then your chameleon's staying hydrated. So that's the best way you can check. Even if you don't actually see them drinking, they can still be drinking when you're not looking. So I've seen Neptune drink in front of me maybe 5 times in like the 3 years that I've had him. And his poops look great. So he's drinking, just not while I'm in the room, which is how it should be. Hope that helps. How do I make my chameleon trust me? Okay, Gabby, I do have a whole video on how to handle your chameleon and how to build trust, but I'll give you some tips and tricks now. First thing to note is that chameleons inherently are scared and defensive animals. They don't have a lot of ways to protect themselves. So the best way they can protect themselves is to make themselves look super intimidating, right? Getting puffed up, gaping, hissing, and potentially biting. So it's not in their nature to be super social animals. However, there are some things that you can do. So something like this, me just sitting in front of my enclosure, that would be the very first thing that I would recommend someone doing. Second thing you could do then is open the door and sit in front of their enclosure. And I'm not saying like watch your chameleon, I'm saying just like scroll through TikTok, go through Instagram, read a book, whatever, in front of the enclosure. That's step 1. Now, if you can, the best thing you can do is start to feed your chameleon treat bugs. That means you have to have enough trust already established to be able to hold a cup of like hornworms, waxworms, or superworms are like all my chameleon's favorite treat bugs. And then if you can hold the cup for probably like 20 minutes, it's gonna take a lot of time, and then your chameleon can eat the treat bug from you. Then over time, they will start to associate the treat bug with you, which is a positive experience. Once your chameleon's able to comfortably cup feed in front of you, and keep in mind, there may be some days where it wants nothing to do with you, that's to be expected, and then you can start moving the cup further and further away. So then if the chameleon's here and the cup's here, move it a little further, move it further, etc. And then eventually you can like build that trust and put your arm out, and then your chameleon could climb onto you. This is gonna take months. This isn't something that happens in a day or even weeks. It took Neptune 5 months before he climbed onto me. And even to this day, I think he's 3. 3? Yeah, I think he's 3. Even to this day, 3 years later, he is still absolutely terrified of me. Terrified of me. He will gape at me, he will run to the corner, he will run and hide. So keep in mind, like, that's just the natural behavior of chameleons. And on social media, people are only going to be posting when their chameleons are their brightest, when they're the least fearful, so just, I want you to have realistic expectations, because I'm guilty of it. I'll show pictures of me like cup feeding Neptune and stuff, but he's absolutely terrified of me, and he will freak out if I go even remotely near his enclosure. So those are my tips and tricks. That's the reality of owning a chameleon. I'm more of a look at pet. Hope that helps. Do you know things about Cuban false chameleons? I have one, and there's not much info about them. Not off the top of my head. I would check out chameleonforums.com if you want some Cuban false chameleon information. Let me see, where else would be a good spot? I think maybe ChameleonAcademy.com might have a care sheet on Cuban false chameleons. They're not commonly kept in the pet trade, so I don't have like their care sheet just like memorized off the top of my head the same way I do with like panther, veils, and Jacksons, because those are typically the chameleon species that I help people out with the most. So sorry I can't be more help. However, things like the UVB and supplements and things like that are going to be pretty consistent. The types of bugs you feed, how to set up the enclosure, like all that stuff is going to be consistent across all chameleon species. The only things that would be slightly different would be like temperature and humidity requirements. So hopefully my other videos can still be of benefit in you getting your enclosure set up, but I don't have any like super detailed Cuban false information. How do you know if it's a male or female? I'm pretty sure mine is a male. Gabby, what kind of chameleon do you have? Like, is it a veiled, panther, Jacksons? That makes a difference because every species has a different way. So once you say that, then I can help you. Does anyone else have any questions in the meantime? I have lots of chameleon knowledge chilling in my brain. Dun, 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 dun. All right, Gabby. Male or female? I have to know. Veiled or panther? If not, I can just tell you guys both ways. So if it's a veiled chameleon, then on its back feet, if there's no bump, if it's completely smooth on the back foot, then it's a female. If there's a little bump, it's called a tarsal spur, and then it's a male chameleon. This only works for veileds. Like, that won't work for a panther or a Jackson. There are some other chameleon species that do have tarsal spurs, but they're not commonly kept in the pet trade. And I will say that sometimes females can have tarsal spurs, so just keep that in mind. Let's see, panther chameleons, those guys are a little harder to sex as babies. It's a lot easier when they're older because their colors are completely different. The females are going to be more those peaches and purples, and they're going to be smaller, and then the males are going to be more like the blues, greens, yellows, and reds. However, you can tell by the hemipenal bulge at the base of the tail, right where there's that like little slit opening, there'll be a bulge, and if it has a bulge, then it's a male, because that's where all the male parts are, and if there is no bulge, then it's a female. However, it's so subtle, so subtle when it's a baby, which is why a lot of times people will get the wrong gender of panther chameleon than the one that they're wanting. So yeah, a lot easier when they're older. Let's see, a veiled chameleon. Oh yeah, so there you go. Check by the tarsal spurs. I also have a whole video on how to tell the gender of a veiled chameleon, because you can tell by their cast size, body size, coloration, tarsal spurs, all that good stuff. So check out that video and you'll be good to go. Did you ever want to get rid of your chameleons? No. It's never crossed my mind ever, actually. I love my chameleons dearly. Now, will I keep chameleons forever? I don't know. I think it would be really cool once I'm in home to get like a super customized, you know, chameleon enclosure where it's like a special wood that like matches all my furniture in my living room, so it's just like a piece of art and furniture kind of thing would be really cool. And then I could just get like one singular like panther chameleon or a giant Parsons chameleon or a Melrose chameleon, just like one standout beautiful chameleon. I think that would be awesome. I think I'll probably keep chameleons in my life long term, at least just like one chameleon, but no, I've never thought about getting rid of them. If anything, I've thought about getting more. I've had to like talk myself out of that. So I think a carpet chameleon would be cool, a Mellors, maybe another Parsons chameleon. But yeah, nope, never thought to get rid of them. Let's see. Hey lady, you probably already answered this, but I have to get one of your shirts. You know I'll buy one. Where do I go? Okay, yeah, guys, look. I don't know if you can see it. It's a Neptune the Chameleon t-shirts. It also comes in hoodies, crew necks, all of that. I actually put a link in the description of this video, so if you go to the live stream video and then like hit description, there should be a link within there. And then in any of my most recent videos, I put a link in the description box as well. And then if you go on my Instagram or TikTok and go to the link that's in there, then there's also a link to the t-shirt. I also put a link to a cool Christmas sweater that I wore in the new video that's coming out on Saturday, and also the one that I was in for Bill Strand Chameleon Academy video. So check that out too if you want like some chameleon swag. Let's see, how do I sterilize logs and branches? PS, love the channel. Okay, Robert, I actually have a video on how to sanitize outdoor branches, so if you want more information, check that out. But what I do is I take my outdoor branches, make sure they're not sap producing or super flaky branches, and I just take soap and water and just like scrub them and rinse them off, and then just put them outside to air dry. Ideally, like summertime's awesome because then you can have a little bit of heat, and that's it. That's all I really do. And then I will throw them into my enclosures. But again, you can check out my YouTube video. Some people bake them. I don't think that's necessary. I just take some little soap and water and scrub them down. Mine loves to be hand fed. I got lucky. He never gapes when I'm near his enclosure. That's great. So some chameleons like don't have a fear response, and I get a lot of crap sometimes from people because I'm like, chameleons aren't animals that should be handled often, like they're more of a look at pet, blah blah blah. And then someone comes through my comment section and just like blasts me, and they're like, well, my chameleon loves me and my chameleon likes to be handled all the time and blah blah blah. And I'm like, cool, like that's awesome. I'm so happy for you that you have a chameleon that doesn't have a fear response to you. However, most chameleons do, and I would hate for someone to go into owning a chameleon thinking that they're going to be like super social, want to come out all the time, and then they're not. Like, I'd rather you go into it thinking worst case scenario and then are pleasantly surprised when your chameleon like doesn't mind being handled. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want people to know what they're getting themselves into, and I'm never upset or mad when someone's like, my chameleon loves being cup fed. I'm like, great, cool. My chameleon's absolutely terrified of me, and most are. So I just want people to have, you know, good expectations. One moment, we need a water break. I can feel the itch, you know. Okie dokie. Let's see. I have a pair of Ambulubis and want to breed them, but I'm wondering if this is just way more work than I realize. Anything you know about breeding? So if you're considering breeding your chameleons, you should ask yourself why. Why are you interested in breeding? And if it's to make money, I wouldn't recommend it. If it's because you think it's cool, I wouldn't recommend it. Breeding is a lot of work and it's very expensive. So just like at a high level, and I'm not going to share all the nitty-gritties of breeding, and I don't ever plan on making any breeding videos as to not encourage people to breed chameleons. So you would have to mate your male and female. Your male and female would need to be kept in separate enclosures. Your female would go down, lay her eggs. You would need to incubate the eggs for X number of months. So you have to, you know, get some sort of incubation set up for that. Then you have to hatch out around 30 to 50 babies is typically what like a panther clutch could be. So now you have 30 or 50 babies that you're caring for, which means you need to have fruit flies, pinhead crickets, enough food to be feeding, we'll just say 50 babies twice a day, like 20 plus bugs. So you have the cost associated with that. And then all the babies need their own enclosures. So then you have to have all the lights and humidity and temperatures and supplements for all those bugs that you have to be responsible for. Then you have to raise the babies to be at least 3 months old. Then you have to find responsible owners to then purchase the chameleons. And then odds are you're probably shipping some of the chameleons somewhere, so then you have to deal with that. So it's a lot of work. And there are plenty of panther chameleon breeders out there. So that's why I'm asking you, like, why, and you don't have to, I'm not telling you to like put it in the comments, just things to think about. Like, why are you wanting to breed? You know, like for me, I'm wanting to breed Apollo and Luna because there's no one else in the US who's breeding them right now. I'm the only person who has a pair of male and female Christopher Parsons that are unrelated. And my pair is unrelated to any of the other ones in the US. So in order to keep the species readily available in captivity, I need to breed my pair. That to me is a why that's much bigger than myself. Much bigger than myself, right? That's to keep the species going in captivity. So that to me is just like a worthwhile effort. Not just because I think it's cool or it'd be fun. Like I had no interest in breeding chameleons prior. People have asked me to actually breed Neptune on multiple occasions. I have no interest, no desire. There are plenty of panther breeders out there. I don't need to be contributing to that. So that's just my 2 cents on breeding chameleons. If you want to do it, best of luck. Like, I'm rooting for you and hope you're super successful. I just would challenge you to give some serious thought as to why you're doing it. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox, but you know what I'm saying. Let's see. My chameleon won't eat any other bugs than crickets. I know you're meant to feed them multiple bugs, but he won't eat dubia roaches or anything like that. So I would make sure that the roaches are moving around in the cup, put a bunch of them in there. Things like black soldier fly larvae, waxworm superworms, those things move around a lot too. And like crickets are a great option. You could just stop feeding the crickets for a couple of days and see if he gets hungry and will eat the other bugs. That could be an option. I do have a video on why isn't my chameleon eating, and in there I talk about what to do if your chameleon is only eating one type of bug. That's kind of like high level. Let's see, I'm getting a panther chameleon that I pre-ordered and it should come on January. If I send you a picture of his cage over Instagram, will you review it? Yes, Amber, I totally will. Just please include things like the type of UVB, temperatures, humidity, and then just take a picture that shows the whole thing from top to bottom, and then I'd be more than happy to take a look. People will, I say send me a picture top to bottom, and then they send me like super zoomed in one, or they take a video of it. It's super helpful. Just like, I think people think they're going above and beyond by sending me a video, but it's most helpful if you just send me a static picture showing the whole thing, so then I can see how it looks all together. If you're showing a video, then you're showing like one corner, then the other corner, then the bottom, then the top. I just need to see the whole thing. So a single picture is totally fine. Let's see. ZKX, nice to see you. You commented on my TikTok. I can see you. Yeah. So if you guys didn't know, that was a TikTok on my Amazon shopping list. So I have an Amazon storefront, which means I like put a bunch of Amazon products that I recommend that I use for my chameleons, put them all in one spot for you guys. So if you need an enclosure, supplements, bugs, UVB, all that good stuff, like I put it all on Amazon for you guys. There's also a link to that in the description box below if you want to check that out. Super easy to shop. Lily and the Snake. I work at Petco. What's some advice I can give to new chameleon keepers? I love this question. First things first, tell them to check out Neptune the Chameleon on YouTube. Secondly, do not sell them the chameleon kit. Unfortunately, Petco and PetSmart, neither one of them sells the proper enclosure and UVB that a chameleon needs, which is super, super frustrating for me, new owners, and I have to imagine store employees like you. So I would encourage them to get the enclosure set up beforehand, get the like 2x2 by 4 foot enclosure, the T5 UVB, all that. You can't buy any of that at Petco. Like, why are you selling the animal if you're not selling the correct supplies? So if they're wanting to take the chameleon home that day, they obviously have to buy something. So just let them know, like, hey, this enclosure is only temporary. It'll only be good for like 2 months. You will need to upgrade your chameleon to a much larger enclosure, and you need to get a different UVB bulb as soon as possible. So I do have a video on how to properly set up a chameleon enclosure, so that could be helpful. I also have a video reviewing, I forget if it's Petco or PetSmart. I think it's PetSmart's carrier guide, and I totally just like, I don't want to say rip it to shreds, but I totally like go through line by line of like, that's correct, that's incorrect, that's correct, that's incorrect. So that could be helpful for them to watch as well. Let's see, is it true that veiled chameleons are more frustrated pets than panthers and jacksons? I'm gonna go with no. I did a video on like what's the best beginner chameleon, and people always say like veileds are a little more defensive than panthers are. However, Neptune is super defensive, and he is not friendly at all. Like really, he's not. Like no one can hold him besides me, and I can only hold him like once every 3 months, if that. So, and he's a panther chameleon, you know. And then I know veils, like Trisha over at Reptilian Garden, like her veiled Bamba was just like the sweetest thing and would come out all the time. So take it with a grain of salt. I think no one should pick a species based off of the friendliness or like which one's less defensive. Pick the species that works for your environment, that you think is super cool, and go with that one, right? You shouldn't pick it off of cost, and you shouldn't pick it off of temperament. Just my 2 cents. Let's see. I saw Reptilian Garden was wearing your tee in one of her videos. That's awesome. And saw your podcast on Chameleon Academy. Yeah. So, yeah, I was on the Chameleon Academy podcast recently talking about all the work that I've done with the Neptune the Chameleon channel. Was really cool. And then like Trisha and I will DM she's over at Reptilian Garden. Sometimes she was just asking me questions about her chameleon shedding earlier this week. So yeah, it's super cool. The community in the like reptile YouTuber world is really amazing, and I had the chance to go to Tinley Park, NARBC, up in the Chicago area, and that was really cool to be able to meet other YouTubers and content creators and people who like I've seen on social media all the time, and I got to meet some of you guys, like some of my subscribers and viewers of the channel, which was like probably the best part of the whole trip and the most heartwarming experience was to be able to see you guys. Like I do live streams like this and like, yeah, I'm talking to you kind of. It's like one way though, you know, or people will DM me all the time, or I recognize your names or usernames, you know, when you like my stuff on Instagram or comment on TikTok. But it's something truly special, truly special to be able to meet you in person. And I met a few people who were like, I watched all your videos, I got my enclosure set up beforehand, and I got like my very first chameleon today. That was like, that's the coolest experience. Like that's how it should be. That's how you should, you know, go into owning a chameleon, and knowing that I had a part in that was super cool. Okay, let's see. Let's see. The chameleons are moving in the background. Yeah, let's see. Neptune's at the top there. Luna, see her butt there, and I don't think you guys can really see Apollo. He's like in the middle branch up there. Why don't you film a lot of videos anymore? ZKX, because I have a life outside of filming YouTube videos. I did film one. It's 5 mistakes chameleon keepers make for next week. I also have over 100 videos at this point. That's a lot of videos. Plus I make daily TikToks. Plus I make daily Instagram videos and posts. Plus I answer hundreds of DMs. So the thing is, like, if I didn't answer so many DMs and questions, then I probably would have more time to make videos. But at this point, I feel like I have so many husbandry and care videos to like help out keepers. Plus, just editing the videos is pretty boring, if I'm being honest. Like, I love filming them and I love talking about, you know, different chameleon things. But then to sit there for like 5+ hours and just like edit a video, like that to me isn't very exciting or enjoyable. Like I'd rather answer DMs or answer questions one-on-one than like sit there in my computer and just like edit a video, you know? So yeah, plus like the videos that I want to make are more complicated topics, like different health issues. Like I want to do a video on tongue issues. that's really, really hard for me to help someone diagnose and troubleshoot what's going on with their chameleon's tongue, because it could be a variety of different things. So that's a very complicated video for me to try and teach you guys how to do that. So I would love to make more videos. I'm just trying to pick something that's sustainable. So right now I'm posting a video every other week, which I feel like is like a good amount. Plus, like I said, I do TikToks like at least once a day, if not twice a day. I post on Instagram at least once a day, if not twice a day, plus live streams, plus DMs, plus comments, you know, and I have the rest of my life, you know, like I have a day job outside of chameleon stuff, you know, and I have friends and family and all that good stuff, you know, so I try to find a balance in what is sustainable for me, and if I'm not feeling like making a video that week, then I don't, and that's okay. So there you go, that's why. Let's see. My local reptile store sells all the correct UVB. That's great. I love to hear that. That's how it should be. Do you have recommendations for how big branches should be? So think of like a chameleon foot. You want your chameleon foot to be able to grip around the whole branch. So I'm not going to give you a diameter because like it depends how big your chameleon is, but you want the branch to be big enough that your chameleon's foot can like wrap pretty much all the way around it. If it was like this, like super flat, and like they can't really grip on that. So I see more often than not like these super big branches and these like teeny tiny baby chameleons, and like they can't really grip it. They're strongest when they can wrap their feet mostly all the way around it. So I would say go for smaller branches versus bigger branches. There you go. All right, I love you guys are chatting in the comments. That's fun. What's the best lighting for chameleons? Do I have to change the light to night at night? Okay, so chameleons don't need any lights at night. I just posted a video about that one on YouTube, so it's my most recent video. All lights should be off at night. They don't need any sort of heat source or red lights, none of that. During the daytime, you need two bulbs, one for UVB and one for heat. The heat bulb could be anywhere from 60 to 75 watts, and you want a basking temperature around 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if anything that I just said is confusing for you, I do have videos that go into more detail about that. That's just like to answer your question. And then for UVB, which is gonna be that long, skinny bulb, you want a T5 high output linear UVB, and I would recommend the ReptiSun 5.0 or the Arcadia 6%. Now again, if any of that was confusing, check out my UVB video. And the actual best video for you to watch would be my cage build video. That one's like probably my all-time favorite video that I've made. One of my favorites. So chameleons don't really get cold unless it gets below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, I just made a video, gosh, like a week ago on lights at night and heat at night and all that. So I would definitely check that out once you're done hanging out with us over on this live stream, you know? What's the best leaves for her? I'm new to this chameleon thing and don't want to do anything wrong. One moment, need some water. Okay, so you really should check out my cage build video because it teaches you step by step what lights, what branches, what plants, where to put them all, how to attach them all that good stuff. So I'm glad you're popping in this live stream. Just know that I have over 100 chameleon care videos on my channel, so like work your way through them and then you'll get all the information that you want. My favorite plant to use are live plants, not the fake ones, and I love pothos. That's P-O-T-H-O-S, pothos. You can get them at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and I have a whole video on how to clean the plant before putting it into your enclosure, so I would definitely check out that video as well. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm more than happy to answer them, but I think I made it to the bottom of the chat, so let me know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, I might just call it a day. See, Luna's hanging out. Neptune's still up there. Apollo's chilling. Yeah, anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. If you have any ideas for YouTube videos or topics, let me know. I do have a long list of ideas that I'm working my way through. It takes time, you know, and effort, which is a lot of work, but I'm I love talking to you guys and answering your DMs and questions. You know, I'd rather do that than edit a 20-minute long video. I think the video that burnt me out, honestly, and like discouraged me from wanting to edit more videos was that cage review video. That was 3 hours worth of footage, and the video ended up being like 58 minutes long, which means I had to watch that through a bunch of different times and edit it and condense the video, and it took me like 3 tries to film it. And that was just like, that took me like 2 months to make. And I know everyone was so excited, and everyone kept asking me like, when's that video going to be done? And I just was like, dude, I'm trying, you know. But I think sometimes people forget that there's a lot of time that goes into it. And if it's a 15-minute long video, like think about how many times I had to sit there and watch through that and edit it, and like how much footage there was for me to condense it into 58 minutes, you know. So I think that video kind of took a lot of my energy out of me, but I'm trying to get back into it. Like I said, like I've been spending a lot of time on TikTok and Instagram recently, and then just, you know, post on YouTube when I can. But yeah, always like doing these live streams though and chatting with you guys. So let's see. My female is now a year old and she hasn't laid eggs yet. Is there any way to tell if she's ready? Yes, there is. Check out my egg laying video. So if they're veiled or a panther, they will lay eggs eventually. They're typically infertile unless they've been with the male. They will have what are called receptive and gravid colors. So it's hard to describe, but like I put pictures in the video so you can like see what I'm talking about. But like veils will get these blue and yellow spots, and then panthers will get these like dark peach and then like these dark black kind of like stripes on them. And that's their way of communicating to any males in the area of like, hey, I've already have eggs, like don't try to mate with me. So that's typically how you can tell if she's getting bigger. That's an obvious one. If you can see she kind of has like little bumps in her belly, that's an obvious one. If she's getting a little antsy and like climbing up and down, if she's eating less, those are all signs that your chameleon could be getting ready to lay eggs. But luckily veils and panthers do a really good job through their colors of telling us that they're ready for eggs. So there you go. My chameleon has been wheezing a bit. Me and my dad are wondering if bee pollen is good for her. Those are two different things. Is bee pollen good for her? Yes. I don't think it's tied to wheezing though. Wheezing typically is a sign of an upper respiratory infection. So I would check out my videos on, which video did I go over in that? My gaping video, why is my chameleon's mouth open? I talk about upper respiratory infection, so I'd watch that and see if she's showing other signs or symptoms of an upper respiratory infection, in which case she would need to go to a vet. But wheezing is not normal for a chameleon and is typically a bad sign. What do I do if I was going to travel and have no one to come and help my chameleon? It depends how long you're traveling for. I can comfortably go away for the weekend and not worry about my chameleons. They're all adults. All our lights are on timers. They have an automatic misting system. If you're gone for more than a few days, oof, that would be hard. I wouldn't leave my chameleon for more than like a week without someone checking in on them, just for the sake of like feeding them. Yeah. I do have a video on like what to do with your chameleon if you go on vacation, but it's like you would really want someone to come check in on them if it's over a week. Yeah. That's a hard one. I don't know, you'd have to find someone. You could also try like boarding your reptile at like a reptile shop, but like that can get a little weird if like they don't know what they're doing, or there's like sick reptiles there, because then your chameleon could pick up something. Yeah, that's a hard spot to be in. I have a friend who's local who also has reptiles, so if I'm gone for more than a few days, then she just like pops in. So yay for reptile friends. Let's see what other questions. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna skedaddle, but can I feed my chameleons with fly soldiers instead of crickets? So you can definitely feed your chameleon black soldier flies. However, you would also still want to feed crickets, because the flies don't have big bellies, so they're not gonna be able to hold a lot of gut load, and they're not high in protein. Crickets are high in protein and have the room in their belly for gut load and supplements. So I would say you'd want to feed them both. You want to feed your chameleon a variety of different bugs. You wouldn't want to feed them just one, and you wouldn't want to feed them just worms and not something that's also high in protein like crickets or roaches. So I'd feed them both. Let's see. Yeah, upper respiratory infection. That's what I would say too. The food in my hornworm cups have discoloration near the metal staples at the bottom. Do your cups ever have this? Oh, I actually think you commented on one of my videos this question. And I don't really, so maybe it's because okay, to answer your question, no, my cups don't get discoloration. But what I do is I take my hornworm cup. If these are obviously roaches, I know. But if this was a cup of hornworms where this is the lid and this is the bottom, a hornworm, you actually want to flip it upside down, right? So then it seems like it's upside down, but then the poop falls to the bottom and then the food is at the top part. So maybe that's why yours is getting discolored, because like of how you have your cup set up. Also, I'm going to try and not get this roach to move. Do you guys see this? It's a white roach. Okay, so this is going to be a newbie thing. When I first started keeping chameleons, I was like, oh my gosh, look, it's an albino roach. It's not. It's a molting roach, which means it like peeled off it. And I'm not a bug person, so I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong terminology. But like it shed its like exoskeleton. So now it's all, oh, it hid. Okay, but it like is now it's all white, and then give it like a couple hours and then it'll turn brown again, like it'll harden and whatever. I just thought that was the coolest thing, and I was like, what? I have an albino roach, and then I'm like, where did it go? And it's because it like turned brown again. So, fun fact about roaches and molting. I don't know if molting is the right word. Shedding. I think for bugs it's molting, and then reptiles it's shedding. Anyways, that's kind of cool. Oh, there it is. I can see it. There it is. Okay, anyways. Any other questions? You have to check out Tiny World Narrative by Paul Rudd on Apple Plus if you have it. Ooh, I love chameleon episodes. Hi, Frisco Kate. Oh, you said hi, Neptune, so hi. How do I know to start feeding my panther chameleon bigger bugs? He just hit the 2-month mark. I want to know for future reference so I'm prepared. Excellent question. The rule of thumb is you want to make sure the bug is no bigger than the width between your chameleon's eyes. So if the bug is smaller than that, like that's okay, but then you can try and like bump up to the bigger size. But if the bigger size is bigger than the width between their eyes, then you know it's too big because you don't want them to choke on it, which has happened before. So make sure it's just that big. And so that's how you can kind of gauge like what size bugs to feed to your chameleon. Are trees that have sap okay for chameleon enclosures, or will they irritate the chameleon? They will irritate the chameleon. And since we're in Christmas time with Christmas trees, I think it's worth mentioning on this live stream that you should only let your chameleon climb fake Christmas trees for this exact reason, because tons of Christmas trees actually are sap producing, and that sap, like, just think about it, it's sticky. Like, why? And your chameleon's climbing around and they're gonna be all sticky. You know, like, just don't risk your chameleon with sappy branches and sappy Christmas trees, right? So just avoid the live Christmas trees altogether. And if you're using branches from outside, make sure they're not sap producing. There you go. Thanks for the answer. I always flip my cup, but the staple is causing gray discoloration. I don't think it would make your hornworms dangerous in any way. I wouldn't sweat it. Yeah. I feel like a lot of them have the staples in there, so I wouldn't worry about it. All right. Does anyone have any other questions? We made it to the bottom of the list. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave any questions or comments. Feel free to snag a Neptune the Chameleon t-shirt or hoodie or sweater. If you do get one, be sure to tag me on Instagram. I've been reposting them. What is my hair doing? What is this hair? Over there? I can't see myself. Hopefully it looks okay. Make sure you post or tag me in it so that I can repost you to my story. Yeah, and I've been posting over on TikTok, Instagram. So if you're like, ooh, I want more videos, like I literally have thousands over on TikTok right now. In fact, get this, one of my TikToks hit over 2 million views, and I have an Instagram reel that's like 980,000, like almost at 1 million views, which is like mind-boggling. But yeah, let's see. If I'm getting a chameleon, I've done all my research, but is there something shocking I didn't know before getting them, but after the experience? I would check out my advice for new chameleon keepers video, because that's exactly like where I put all that information. I'm trying to remember what I even put in it, because that video is like a year old now. Like, they're not going to eat when you first get them. They're going to be dark, and they're going to try and hide from you. I don't know, like, I feel like I cover a lot of that stuff in my videos. Like, shedding for the first time can be scary. Sperm plugs for the first time can be nerve-wracking. Just making sure your temps in UVB are good. Replacing your UVB before the bulb actually goes out. Lots of hiding places. Using live plants. Make sure your hydration's good. Make sure your supplements are good. Make sure you're using a multivitamin. Yeah, and then I would just check out my top 5 mistakes for new chameleon keepers. I have 3 so far, and I just filmed number 4, so hopefully that'll be ready to go out next week. So yeah, I think that's it. What's the best thing about owning a chameleon? I don't know, they're just, I think, super cool to look at. I just love how predictable they are, how colorful they are, watching them eat, and just knowing that I was able to create a mini rainforest for these guys in my home, and they're thriving and they're healthy and will hopefully live long lives, you know? I don't know, they're just amazing creatures, and they have their own little personalities. That's the perk of having multiple chameleons, is you can totally see their different personalities, which is a lot of fun. They just bring me so much joy and happiness, and I could just sit and watch them for hours and never even interacting with them, just looking at them. They're really amazing creatures, and I'm always honored to, have the privilege to be able to take care of these guys, and then to help you guys take care of your chameleons. It's something truly special. So yeah, anyways, as always, let me know if you have any questions. Have a great rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you guys are, and I hope you guys have a happy holiday season, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So have a great day, guys. Bye!